If you build it, they will come. Last night, Kale built it, and we came. Subscribed. Nittany Lion Wrestling Club had a wrestling duel last night with the Cliff Keen Wrestling Club from Michigan. It was kind of set up like a dual meet. There was, 10 to 15 some matchups. It was live streamed on the platform Rokfin, which we've talked about several times on this, according to the Willie Trials. And I have some thoughts on the whole thing. Let's start off with the event itself. The event was very meat and potatoes. There was no extra stuff. There was no macaroni on the side. There was no chicken salad. There was no nothing else, just meat and potatoes. And what I mean by that is you had a mat, you had two commentators, you had the wrestlers, obviously, one ref, three people at a table, absolutely no set design, no nothing, just high quality wrestling, a stream, and the consumer. Period. There was hardly any downtime between matches. There were no hiccups with production. It was very minimal. Even the commentary was very insightful, but not animated. As far as Rokfin goes, the actual platform that it was hosted on, Rokfin was very easy to use. You sign up, $9.99 a month. $9.99. You get access to all these other platforms, creators, whatever. And when you subscribe to Rokfin, you can choose a channel or whatever to support, and that person gets a certain percentage of whatever. Still kind of confused on how the whole algorithm works. I know that when you sign up, you can choose who you want to support, and then that person gets kind of like a commission of your sign-up fee or your monthly subscription. Anyways, super easy to sign up. You can support other creators. You can support Nittany Lion Wrestling Club. You can have access to all this content. Some thoughts on the actual wrestling itself. I'm not going to lie, I'm still a team folk style guy. It is what it is. I grew up wrestling folk style. I didn't really wrestle freestyle ever. Big college wrestling fan. I do watch a little bit of the freestyle stuff, like the major events like World Team Trials, the Olympics, the bigger stuff, but it's pretty rare for me to ever watch some freestyle event that's not any of those things. So I'm probably not going to change. I'm still going to be a folk style guy. I'm sorry. Cat's out of the bag. It is what it is. That's why we have StaleMates Bravo, because he is super into that side. But I do have some thoughts on the actual wrestling itself. It was a good night for the Nittany Lion Wrestling Club, not just because they won a ton of matches. The guys that transferred there looked freaking good, right? Transferred. Kyle Snyder looked freaking good. Mohawk. Kyle Snyder is officially back. That's confirmed by StaleMates. Thomas Gelman looked freaking good against Darian Cruz. He got taken down right away, but then after that, it was Thomas Gelman from there on out. He looked freaking good. It was weird to see Thomas Gelman not in a black and yellow singlet or a Titan Mercury singlet. He was in a Nittany Lion Wrestling Club singlet, cornered by Jake Varner and Sanderson brother, I believe. Some of those guys, whatever. But it was weird to see him not cornered by Perry or the Brands brother. Still not used to it yet, but I guess we better get used to it because he looked freaking good. Also, it was an excellent night for women's wrestling. All the women's matches were really exciting. Lots of scoring. We got to see Julia Salata out there. I got her name right this time. One thing that was cool, Julia lost at the very last second, and right after she lost, she immediately did whatever she had to do, and then she got on her phone and she sent out a pretty good tweet, which I think is pretty cool because it's funny, or it's cool that social media gives us insight to athletes like immediately after their performance. Like, imagine if we would have got tweets from Dan Gable back in the day, like as soon as he won like a gold medal or something, like immediately if he grabbed his phone and said something inspiring or funny. But Julia tweeted, 0 out of 10 would not recommend relaxing with 1 second still on the clock. She lost right at the end. So I always like when athletes go immediately to their phone right after a match and tweet something funny. It's cool to get, where their mind is right after a big match. The main event sucked. It is what it is, I guess.
It is what it is, It is what it is, It is what it is. It is what it is, It is what it is.
That's something you can't control. As a UFC fan, you see that quite often. Plus, I always feel like the bigger the card is, the better the matchups are, the main event has a better chance of sucking. And that's not for any certain reason. That's just like some sort of like karma. Like, hey, you're going to get all this, but the main event's going to suck. It kind of sucked. Derringer was the only one who scored an offensive takedown, I believe, or an offensive point. Offensive point, he scored a push out. And Seth Duckworth actually had a pretty good tweet. Shout out to the Pokies. He said, I'm about to do a recap explaining to casual Oklahoma State fans why Alex Derringer scored the only offensive point in the match and was arbitrarily put on the shot clock and gave up a point to lose 1-1 on criteria, and we wonder why casual fans don't care for wrestling. That is a very good point. And that kind of brings me to my next point. I thought the Nittany Lion Wrestling Club event was awesome. I thought for hardcore wrestling fans, this is what they want. This is exactly what they've been asking for. High quality wrestling, high quality stream, very basic. It got over really quick. There was no fluffs, this, that, and the third. Freestyle wrestling. That's what the hardcore wrestling fans want. But in terms of wrestling fans in general or sports fans in general, I don't know. I don't know if this is it. I think this is a start. This could be the start of something bigger, especially, with people having access to something like Rokfin now, a platform where they can get paid more compared to like a YouTube that doesn't really pay anything.
It's been a long day without you, my friend.
But in terms of getting, like last night, for example, if you took the Nittany Lion Wrestling Club event, and if I tried to get a fan or a friend of mine who wants to get into wrestling, or maybe, goes to a college dual meet maybe once a year, they're not watching that event last night. And maybe that event last night wasn't for that guy or girl. Maybe that event was for the people those wrestling junkies who want that off-season experience. But in terms of like getting a bigger fan base for wrestling, as stupid as this might sound, the casual fans care about the production, the being animated, the walkout songs, the fireworks.
I just found a bag of fireworks in the men's restroom. Would you guys like to light them off? All right, boys, prepare to be dazzled.
The smoke machines, all that stuff that seems kind of stupid and seems like a lot of money, that's going to make it seem a little bit more enticing to just like a casual fan. Now, some of you guys are probably going to watch this. You're going to say, that's stupid. Who cares? Just enjoy the high quality wrestling. I agree with you. I'm just saying that a lot of these fans that are just casual Iowa Hawkeye fans, casual Mizzou fans, casual whatever, they might not be so into this. But this specific event might not have been for them. Now, there's probably other content creators on Rokfin that can do that kind of stuff, and maybe Kale doesn't care about doing that. But I don't know if the Nittany Lion Wrestling Club format of just boom, 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 basic, no ifs, ands, or buts, just it is what it is. That format, I don't know if that works in terms of like gaining a larger audience. Will he get the hardcore wrestling fan who wants to watch wrestling in the off season or the freestyle season? Yes, those people 100% will sign up every single time. Matter of fact, Rokfin's subscribers went from whatever it was, it more than doubled, it almost tripled. Which brings me to my last point. There was a debate on Twitter, kind of like a debate. There was a back and forth on other Rokfin creators kind of saying, hey, if you want to watch the event, the Nittany Lion Wrestling Club event this weekend, you can still subscribe through other smaller content creators and getting them more commission, a percentage or whatever. And people kind of had their tiffs about that, kind of saying like, well, if I'm going to sign up because I want to watch this event, shouldn't I give my dollars to the person who is putting up all the money, all the risk, the athletes and everything that are putting that on, because they're quite frankly the reason why I am signing up. And there are people saying, yeah, but they already have money. You should give it to the smaller media people, the smaller, kind of comparing it to small businesses and such. And there was this kind of back and forth. Kale actually put out his take on it, which obviously being that he put on the event, his take on it was exactly how you would expect. He said, he had 2 tweets here. He said, props to athletes, especially NLWC, who were all willing to sacrifice for event with no guaranteed payment. Only flaw in Rokfin platform is the other content producers who use our event investment work to steal many of the subs and take dollars from athletes. Hashtag not cool. Followed it up with a second tweet where he said, people too caught up in short term to see big picture. Sad, but Rokfin can fix this. Hopefully. Just one of the many examples here. Hashtag messed up. I do think that there is probably going to be some sort of solution to that. I'd side with Kale on this. However, I don't blame the other content creators on Rokfin for doing that. That's just kind of business 101. If something big comes up, right? So like if a McDonald's gets put in place somewhere in town, right? There's other restaurants that kind of pop up around that. You know, next thing you know, you got a Burger King right next to that. Next thing you know, you got a Wendy's right next to that. That's kind of how things work. This almost goes back to the argument that the whole Flow versus Rokfin thing, which I'm not really going to get into, but Rokfin put targeted ads at Flow Wrestling subscribers because those were wrestling fans. So they're trying to target wrestling fans. So that's what these other Rokfin people are kind of doing, is they're trying to target other Rokfin subscribers. So saying, hey, I know you're going to do that. Now, did it take away money from Nittany Lion Wrestling Club? I'm sure that there was a little bit, but in this business model, I think that's just how it is. So I don't know what they're going to do to fix that, but do I side with Kale? I do side with Kale. If I'm putting up my money and everything, and I'm the one responsible to getting everybody to pay $9.99.
Have you ever had a dream that you
a month for my event? I want all those dollars, regardless of how much money the Penn State has. I want all those dollars. Do I get mad at the other content creators for saying, hey, if you're going to watch the event, here's a link to mine? Not at all. That's how the business works. It is what it is. I mean, that's just how it works. So I think in terms of that error, that flaw, I think you got to chalk that up to Rokfin. How do you prevent that? I don't know. I just think that's how it is. You could say, you know, well, why don't you just pay per view instead of per subscription? Well, that's just YouTube. Could they pay more than YouTube pays? Sure, but I don't know how much money there is in this stuff. I'm not a tech guy. But they're smart. They'll figure it out. I think it was a big night for the sport. Was last night the end-all, be-all? Not at all. I think there could be some critiques. I'd love to see some folk-style matchups eventually, but that's kind of what the college wrestling season's for. Hope you guys like this video. We got merch dropped. www.stalemates.bigcartel.com. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter, Instagram at StaleMates Show. Subscribe if you watch this video. 555 subs, trying to get to 600. Maybe we'll get to 1,000 before the season starts. Got to start grinding. Peace.